What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Gotta Get Back, the Samurai Jack and Review Show. Welcome to episode 36, guys. If you remember last time, we had the best episode of Samurai Jack so far, in my opinion, and maybe of the series. This one, not so much, but not a terrible episode, but we'll get into that, guys. My name's Kyle. Welcome to Project Potter. If you haven't been here before, all are welcome. If you haven't seen the show before, we're doing a recap of every episode of Samurai Jack. We're doing a favorite character, a favorite scene, a score out of 10, and we're doing some trivia or some facts at the end. But kicking it off with a recap here, guys, Jack is seen trekking through a forest. What's that? You've heard this many times before in the review. That's because a lot of these episodes start the same, but there's enough variety in here that it'll be a little bit different. So he's going through this big forest. He's kind of itchy, and then Jack opens his gi, and there's like thousands of bugs in his shirt. And I don't understand how this happened or he didn't notice, but it's really gross, and he freaks out and he kind of throws this around. It seems a little random, but nonetheless, that is in there. He kind of steps through like a forest clearing, and he's fighting. There's two monks there, and it's a cool little scene because he's like, wait, is that? And he's like, flying horse or peeping dragon, whatever he says. It's like they're doing moves, and he's like, oh, countered by this. And they're doing all these crazy moves that they clearly learned from the same tribe, which is the Shaolin tribe, if I'm saying that right. And Jack says like, oh, of course, then you must know this. And they're doing like all these different moves. I don't remember all the names, but it's a fun little scene. And it basically Jack finds out that like, oh yeah, I was trained in the same guard or whatever. And they're like, oh, well, come here, we'll show you the temple. And he's like, oh, Jack goes with them, and he's like, wow, how did you keep everything intact? And, you know, there's like these warriors that are like dipping these buckets in here. They're sword training in the background. They're like punching the water and the buckets and stuff. So they're all working real hard. They're working in unison. Jack is like, wow, it's great to see. Like, this is how his old like training used to be, basically. And they're like, oh, you know, like our grandmaster has helped us. And he's like, we're reaching new heights. And you walk by some dude who's like literally learning to levitate above the ground. So that's all really cool. There's visually a really cool shot where there's like a bunch of lights by them and a bunch of candles. And then they go see the Grandmaster, and it's like a super old dude who I think is like the original guy that when Jack was there. And he's like connected to, his body's like withering away, but he's like connected to like the roots around him, which is kind of cool. So there's some sort of like spiritual, like divine intervention. Jack talks to the Grandmaster, and you know, he's like, hey, I'm still looking for a way to get back in time. But that's when a coup starts invading, and so Jack has to defend against them. But they're like, you know, there is a portal that we might know of. And so Jack goes with the monks, and he travels like across the land. There's these big creatures that they see, and they're like, oh, it's at the top of this mountain, but they have to go up like these this like stairway with like Donkey Kong style, basically. And there's like the old statues that are all like embedded into the mountain. And wouldn't you know it, they're going up there and the statues come to life. And so you think they're going pretty well, and then they start attacking everyone. So it's Jack and the monks and a coup. Well, they come to life because a coup put power in them, basically. And so there's still like many stories to get up. They fight them, they start pushing them off the sides, but then like the platforms are falling apart, so the monks are like in danger of falling in there. I don't know if this is like an acid river or not, but either way, they're gonna probably die from the fall. The monks are making their way up, but Jack and the other monk are like climbing to the top there. Sorry if I'm kind of running through this one. This just felt real like generic for me. But one of the monks does like use his pole to go up, like literally push stuff up like through multiple layers. And he finds the side of the hole with the cave, and like that's where the time portal is. And eventually like Jack gets to the top there, but all of these guardians are at the top with them, and they're like, Jack, run, you have to go now. So the monks are like ready to defend themselves, but they're clearly outnumbered. Jack is running towards the portal, and it's like he gets there, and wouldn't you know it, the portal is there, and it's like, dude, he can easily make it. He can easily go. And he's like right next to it, but he looks back, and the monks are like taking a beating. And Jack knows like, I can go to the portal, but he's like, man, I really need to help them. And I'm like, dude, sometimes Samurai Jack needs to learn to be selfish, okay? And so there's a scene of him like running and sprinting, and like time is running out, and the portal's going to close, I think, after a certain amount of time. And you know what happens is that Samurai Jack, of course, runs back. The monks are like, the portal closes and they're like, oh, he is free. They're like, we will die here, but we saved him on his quest. We will die as warriors. And like the Guardians are all like homing in on them, and Jack comes screaming out, and they're like, and they run into the tunnel, but they like all the Guardians are still coming after them. They climb these huge statues, and then they end up like pushing two of the statues over, and it like crushes a bunch of them. So they actually climb out of the top there, and it like somehow defeats the rest of the Guardians. I don't know. It's a little confusing, but the monks are like, Jack, why didn't you go for the tower? They're like, why didn't you go for the portal? Now you have to find another way home. And Jack says, yeah, I'm starting to get used to that. And that's how the episode ends. Hey guys, the magic sword for this one, it's got to be the monks and just their whole temple and all that, like their training. It was cool to see that that's still alive. And Jack was like, wow, it's like the old ways are still alive. We saw this a bit in the episode where he needs to get new sandals in season 2, or it might have been, I think that was a season 1. No, season 2 finale. I think it was Jack shoes. I don't remember, but it was previously. But yeah, it's like, it's the same people, it's the same tribe. I think one of the guys says like he was there when Jack was training with them, and so that's really cool to see that connection. But at the end of the day, it's another portal where Jack gives up, and once again he passes it up. There's some interesting stuff about that we'll get into later, but yeah, the monks get my magic sword for this week. So a portal in time for this week, guys. It's got to be for me when Jack goes to see the Grand Master. That's pretty cool. Now I can't say the word Grandmaster. I'm thinking of Jeff Goldblum from Thor Ragnarok, so one of his best roles. But that's a different show for a different time. But yeah, when Jack goes there and he's like connected to the tree, just super awesome and like cool visually, and he's like kind of all knowing, and he's like, oh, let me help you out. And I like the little journey that they go on after, but that one particular scene is just really striking, and it's my portal in time for this week. Okay, guys, for a score for this one, I'm going to give it a 6.8. I just didn't really care for this one, as you can see by kind of me just rushing through this review, not because I don't want to give you guys the proper time, not because I don't respect Genndy or Samurai Jack, because, I mean, they've made a tremendous show. I was in love with last week's episode, so this one just didn't get my attention really. It was just another basic plot. Oh, it was cool to see like the old past, but it's like, oh, guess what? We have a portal. Oh, and guess what? You can easily get it, but Jack, he's like, oh, I have to go save them, and he turns down the portal again, and it's like, it just happens a lot now where he's just like, he's fighting to save the future, but then he also like is giving up reasons to get back to the past to save the future. So I don't know, it doesn't make sense. But yeah, that's just an okay episode. Okay, guys, so a few Jack facts here. So when Jack first encounters these two monks, this fight is very similar to the old computer game International Karate, which is a 2D side view animation style fighting game, and even the music is similar to the original on the Atari ST, which is really cool. I did not have an Atari, but that sounds pretty rad. The Shaolin secret symbol of a raised index finger is the same one used on the TV series Kung Fu and Kung Fu. The Legend Continues by the late David Carradine. So there's that. And this is the most interesting one, I think, guys. It says here, Jack's decision to help the monks actually saved them, not just from death, but from non-existence. It serves as an example of temporal paradox. If Jack had gone back in time and successfully defeated Aku, this means he would have never attacked the previous temple, which means that the new temple would never have been founded, and the monks that reside there may never have been indoctrinated. In a sense, the monks that were helping Jack were also aiding in their own destruction, which is really crazy to think about. And I love time travel stuff and paradoxes and all that stuff, so that was the one I think I picked out the most there. So the army of guardians that Aku sends at them is a subtle homage to the real-life terracotta army. This is a huge collection of terracotta sculptures depicting the armies of Qi Shi Huang, the first emperor of China. It is a form of funerary art buried with the emperor in 210 BC. They were not rediscovered until 1974. And then the last one here, guys. This marks the only time in the entire series where Jack himself willingly destroys the time portal. Oh, so he actually destroys it, doesn't just go away. As the only other time a time portal was destroyed before season 5 was done when Jack was infected by Aku's essence. Thus, it wasn't truly Jack's own will and intent that destroyed in that time. So, yeah, not only does Jack not take the portal, it's revealed here that he actually destroys the time portal. Now, why he didn't just fight these guys and then go back to the portal after, I don't know. But maybe Jack did what he needed to do. Maybe he knows the way. But yeah, those are our Jack facts for this episode. Okay, guys, well, that's another episode of Gotta Get Back in the books. Not my favorite one, but yeah, like I say every time, guys, whenever there's a bad episode or an okay episode of Samurai Jack, there's probably going to be a good one next week. So we'll keep our eyes peeled for that. But thank you guys so much for checking out Project Potter. Thanks for checking out Gotta Get Back. We appreciate you guys stopping by. I hope you enjoyed the content. Like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell notification. And until next time, guys, gotta get back.